So the first question is,
What did you have as a child that
Okay,
kids
yes.
today don't have?
yes, tell me when to start. Start. What did I have as a child that most people don't or are not likely to have today? That's really pretty easy. My early childhood, in fact, my very early childhood, and more of the time than not until I actually went off to the university, was spent very close to the ocean, the Pacific Ocean, just a few blocks from the beach, and very close to the Golden Gate Park of San Francisco. In growing up, I got to know, I walked from the Seal Rocks, which is at Land's End off of San Francisco out of the Golden Gate, down to the zoo, which was about 4 miles south and also on the edge of the ocean. And I probably knew that beach, as poor as it was and is, probably better than most people, even my contemporaries, even my friends. I was there oftener because I lived closer to it and fell in love with the ocean. I can get to that later as to why I was so fascinated with it, but for the moment I'll answer the question about growing up. What was my special experience? That ocean and the park being close enough from the time I was, not quite 5, again, until I went off, left the city to attend the university. It was right at hand, and there was nothing for me just to say, hey, Mom, I'm going to the park. And she'd say, come back for dinner. And I would be gone anywhere from maybe 9 in the morning until dark, cruising through all the parts of it. I got to know, I think, every inch of it. I even learned how it got built, how it was, what made it in the first place, which is a story separately of interest. But I had, I think, an unusual experience that probably nobody else had. When Roald Amundsen, the fellow who piloted the Gila around North America and down to San Francisco, the first ship ever to make the distance of the so-called Northwest Passage, first ship ever to accomplish the feat of going from the Atlantic Ocean around the north to the Pacific, brought his ship down to San Francisco. And my grandfather, who was a customs officer, had to meet him. And so he went aboard, and he and Amundsen hit it off immediately, got along really well. And in the course of their spending this time with each other, Amundsen gave to my grandfather a gift for each of his 3 children, 2 boys and a girl, the girl being my mother. She was 12 at the time, and she kept this gift. When then my sister and I were growing up, my mother told us about it, showed us a few pictures, and presented this doll that had been made by the Inuit Indians of the Hudson Bay. And incidentally, that doll, given to my mother, she kept, and when she told me about it, she said, you keep this for your first girl child. Therefore, Penelope got it. And that was pretty thrilling. That, however, was just a single part out of that whole Golden Gate Park experience, because what I want to say about it is that after Amundsen returned to Norway, he left the ship in the care of San Francisco. And the city wondered what to do with it and decided they'd put it in the park. And so they found a place very near the western end of the park where there was room and space to dig a hole, and this funny little ship was braced and placed like a porcelain piece on a table in this depression there at the end of the park, and a fence put around, and I got to pass it and look at it. And I don't know how many times I went by it in my tours through the park as a boy, but I kept looking at it and thinking, my grandfather was on that ship. I wonder if I could ever get on it myself. Well, I could see as a boy that I had not the strength to get down the steep slope, up along the supports for the ship and on board the thing, so I didn't even try. But by the time I had gotten out of high school, I passed by it again and realized I now had the strength to chin myself up the braces, to make all these necessary maneuvers. And so one night, just at dark, when I knew that no people would be wandering around the park, and no guards would be out there looking around to protect anybody wandering through, that there were, that the night guards wouldn't be in that area at that time, not at the far west end of the park. So I went over the fence, down into the pit, climbed up the huge braces, got awful dirty, and got myself up over the stern and stood by the wheel as if I was Roald Amundsen. It was, I talk about a thrill. Of course, I was scared silly too, but I'd done it. Now, actually, I've never told anybody that until just a short while ago, a few years ago, I told Muriel, and you're the next person I ever told. So there, that is certainly an experience about that park, and one of the things that made it an incredible lifetime memory and experience for me. Okay.